NCAA Women's Selection Show. I just was on with the men's, and now it is time for the women's. For the women to get the field of the 68-team women's basketball tournament. I am going to attempt to have this on as the pairings are being announced, unlike what I was able to do on the men's. If not, I guess I'm just going to have to do it the same way I did with the men's. Wait until it's announced and then put the bracket up for the pairings. Let's see if I can get this to pull up. Okay, so I am not going to be able to have the actual show on, so I am going to have to do it like I did for the men's. They're going to announce a region, and then I will have to put it up on this bracket after the regions are announced. They'll probably go into if there's anything like the men's show was, they will announce a region, go to commercial, come back in a region. They've just got so many copyright restrictions. I am not going to be able to have the actual selection show on while the pairings are being announced, because it's going to copyright buzz me. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that like I was wanting to. But we are just about set. The NCAA women's pairings, I don't think there's any question UConn is going to be the number one overall seed, 34-0 on the season. They announced the host sites yesterday for the 16 teams that will host the first two rounds of the NCAA women's tournament. That's a rule I think needs to go. I think you need to get rid of home courts on this, but we may get there someday. April 5th, the national championship game in the women's Final Four. That will be in Phoenix this year. And the number one, as I thought, with the number one overall seed is the UConn Huskies. So running the slate in the regular season, winning the Big East tournament, 34-0 on the season are the UConn Huskies. And again, I see the view count is growing here, so I want to read what I just said at the beginning. I'm going to have to wait for them to announce a region on the TV. Then as they announce that region, it'll be loaded on the bracket here. I am not going to be able to show the actual show of the pairings announcements, copyright violations and stuff. And so I am unfortunately not going to be able to show the actual show. So we'll just have to do it like I did the men's. They'll announce a region, they'll go to commercial, the bracket will fill out, and then we can talk it over then. But they are announcing the East region, right? Or I'm assuming okay, I forget. They don't use East, South, Midway. They use like Regional 1, Regional 2, Regional 3, and Regional 4. So this is the first region they are announcing. It's sub-regions into Fort Worth for the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. So as soon as they are done announcing this, when it gets filled out, we will talk about it. But as I said, UConn, the overall number one seed. Dude, I don't think anyone's surprised as UConn looks to go back-to-back national championships on the women's side. As UConn and Coach Gino Auriemma looking for his 13th national championship as the head coach at UConn. UConn beating South Carolina in the national title game a season ago. South Carolina probably going to be a number 1 seed again, even though they fell in the SEC tournament championship game to Texas. As they are still announcing Region 1. Number 1 seeds on the women's side, you're probably going to be looking at UConn, UCLA. Could the SEC get 2 number 1 seeds? Could we see Texas and South Carolina both get number 1 seeds, or will someone else get in there? Take it away. Again, I've mentioned this twice, but I want to mention it one more time since I see the view count going up. Soon as they're done announcing the region on TV, it'll get filled out here on the bracket, and then we can go over it and discuss it. I cannot show the actual live show because of copyright restrictions, so I got to wait for them to get done, fill it, and then get this bracket filled out here on the app, and then we can go over the games and the matchups for the particular regions, as they are in the midst of announcing the first region right now. It's Regional 1, as they call it. There is no East, South, Midwest, and West in the women's. Not sure why that is, but it's just Regional 1, Regional 2, Regional 3, and Regional 4 is how they do it on the women's side. Of course, the main question again, how many power conference teams will be in the field? As they are just about done with this first region here. And of course, if you don't follow the women's tournament as closely as the men's tournament, the top 4 seeds in each region get first and second round home games before they feed into the feeder sites in the Sweet 16. In this first there's 2 feeder sites in the Sweet 16, as each site will host 2 regionals. Like this one here feeds into Fort Worth. Fort Worth will host 2 regionals of the Sweet 16, the Elite 8 round, and I believe Sacramento is the other host for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 rounds. These regions taking a little bit longer to announce than they did on the men's selection show earlier. But I promise, as soon as they are done, we will get the bracket filled in. We did have 4 conference champions crowned today. We'll go ahead and go over those. In the Patriot League, Holy Cross defeated Lehigh 77-70 in the Patriot League title game. NEC championship game went to Fairleigh Dickinson. They defeated LIU 79-57. CAA championship game went to Charleston 68-56 over Hofstra. Hofstra made that miraculous run as the 10 seed to the championship game of the CAA, but their magic ran out as they fell to the regular season conference champion and number 1 seed Charleston. And in the Missouri Valley, another team that made a miraculous run, Evansville, into the championship game as the number 10 seed. Their magic ran out as well as they fell 91-70 to Murray State. So here we go. First region. And to no one's surprise, the top overall seed, UConn Huskies, as they will be in action against the 16 seed UTSA in their opening game. That's University of Texas at San Antonio. They won the American Conference as the 6th seed in that conference. They defeated regular season champion Rice in the conference championship game. So their treat for winning the American Conference tournament is a date with the UConn Huskies in round 1. 8-9 matchup. This will also be in Storrs, Connecticut. 8th seed in this region, the Cyclones of Iowa State, Iowa State out of the Big 12 getting the 8 seed here. They will take on the number 9 seed Orange of Syracuse, getting the at-large out of the ACC, with that Syracuse Iowa State winner to more likely than not get UConn in round 2. The number 5 seed in this region, the Maryland Terrapins. Maryland does not get to host. They are the 5 seed in this region. Their opening game will be against the 12 seed Racers of Murray State, who just won the Missouri Valley Championship earlier today over Evansville. And the host of this sub-regional here is the number 4 seed. That will be the Tar Heels of North Carolina. So North Carolina getting to host there in Chapel Hill. They will take on the Leathernecks of Western Illinois, champions of the, what are they in now? OVC, aren't they? Oh, I almost said Summit League, but they left the Summit League, go to the OVC. So Western Illinois, as a 13 seed, will get North Carolina in the opening round there. Again, this feeds into Fort Worth for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 rounds. Number 6 seed, Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Usually you see them host, but they get a 6 seed this year. Their first matchup, that will be against the 11 seed Stags of Fairfield. Fairfield Metro Atlantic champions. Notre Dame and Fairfield, that first matchup. And the host of this little sub-region here is the 3 seed Buckeyes of Ohio State. Out of the Big Ten, they get to host in Columbus. They will be taking on in their first game the MEAC champions from Howard. Howard and Ohio State in Columbus. That could be an intriguing second-round matchup there if North Carolina and Ohio State both advance. Notre Dame's had a little bit of a down year for their standards, but that's still looking like a pretty intriguing second-round matchup if that does indeed pan out. The final 4 teams in this region, the number 7 seed Fighting Illini of Illinois. Out of the Big Ten, that's already what is that? I guess just the second Big Ten team we've seen, isn't it? Illinois' first opponent will be the number 10 seed Buffaloes of Colorado, getting in as an at-large from the Big 12. Colorado and Illinois, 2 at-large teams from the Big 12 and Big 10, respectively. And the number 2 seed and the host of this little sub-region, the final host on this side, Commodores of Vanderbilt. What a season they have had in the SEC. Their opening game will be against the 15 seed Panthers of High Point. High Point champions of the Big South. So UConn, Vanderbilt, Ohio State, and North Carolina, the 4 hosts in this part of the bracket, in this top left-hand side. Obviously, UConn at 34-0, probably the team to beat. Is there anybody in this region that would think can knock off UConn, Vanderbilt, Ohio State, North Carolina? I don't see it, but that's why the games are played on the court and not on paper. Now, Iowa State-Syracuse first round game, that should be a pretty good matchup. Big 12 and ACC doing battle there. Like I said, normally we see Maryland hosting there in College Park, but they do not get to host this year as they get a 5 seed. Maryland, North Carolina, possible second-round game there. Already talked about Notre Dame and Ohio State, possibly a second-round matchup. And if Vanderbilt would get past their first game, they would get either Illinois or Colorado. That could be a little bit of a difficult second-round game for the Commodores. But getting to host in Nashville will obviously be a big key for Vanderbilt, assuming they get past High Point in their first game. So if chalk holds serve here, UConn would play North Carolina in a regional semifinal, and then you would see Ohio State and Vanderbilt. Boy, that would be a great game if that ends up coming through in a Sweet 16 game there in Fort Worth. That would be quite the matchup. Ohio State has a tough road here. I know they're hosting. Assuming they get past the MEAC champions Howard, you're having to face possibly Notre Dame in round 2, and then you may have to go up against Vanderbilt before having to face possibly UConn. So that's a tough little road for the Buckeyes right there as the 3 seed. I don't see the committee did them any favors right there as the 3 seed, putting Notre Dame in their same sub-regional there. And they are announcing this second region, that this Regional 2 feeds into Sacramento. So as soon as they are done here, we will have the pairings on that side, which they have just finished. So we should be getting the bracket on Regional 2 filled in here momentarily. There are no game times yet. Do have the days, but no game times. This is just the matchup right now, and here we go. Number 1 seed in this regional, the Bruins of UCLA, the Big Ten champions. So UConn ranked number 1, UCLA ranked number 2. They are the first 2 number 1 seeds we see. UCLA will face Cal Baptist in their opening game. Cal Baptist, champions of the WAC. They will be the final WAC women's basketball tournament champions. Of course, the WAC goes by the wayside here later on this year. So we will have no more WAC conference. So Cal Baptist gets the distinction of being the very last WAC women's basketball champions. They will get UCLA in round 1. 8-9 matchup over here. The 8th seed, the Cowgirls of Oklahoma State out of the Big 12. Oklahoma State is the 8th seed. Their first matchup will be against the 9th seed Princeton Tigers. A little bit higher seed than I thought they'd get, but Princeton does get a 9 seed, getting to take on a Power 4 team in Oklahoma State in their first game, with a second-round matchup more than likely against the Bruins of UCLA. 5 seed in this region, Rebels of Ole Miss out of the SEC. Ole Miss getting a 5 seed, just missing hosting the first 2 rounds by 1 seed. Their opening game will be against the 12 seed Gonzaga. Gonzaga back in the field once again out of the West Coast Conference. Of course, they're moving to the new Pac-12 next year. The 4 seed and host of this little sub-regional, Minnesota Golden Gophers. What a year they had out of the Big Ten. Minnesota, a 4 seed and getting to host the first 2 rounds. Their first opponent will be Green Bay. Green Bay, once again, the champions of the Horizon League. It's become a yearly tradition with Green Bay and the Horizon League. They get a 13 seed and a matchup with Minnesota in Minneapolis in round number 1. Again, this feeds into Sacramento. Sacramento will be the host for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 in this region. 6 seed on this side, Baylor. Baylor getting a 6 seed out of the Big 12. That's, what have we seen now? 4 teams already out of the Big 12. No. Baylor will take on the 11 seed. It's actually going to be a first 4 game, so let's pan down here to this first 4 matchup. Richmond, they got in. That was a lot of talk about Richmond, but the Spiders get the at-large bid into the first 4. They fell in the, I believe, semifinal round of the A-10 tournament, but they do get the at-large bid. They'll be taking on Nebraska. Nebraska, one of the last 4 teams in. They are in the first 4. And a matchup with Richmond in that first 4 game. The 3 seed and host of this side, Duke Blue Devils. Duke had that little bit of a slow start this year, but they turned it on after about the first week of January, ended up winning the ACC regular season and tournament titles. They get to host, and they will take on the Cougars of Charleston, champions of the Coastal Athletic Association. I always have to catch myself. I still want to keep calling them by their old name. Coastal Athletic Association, Charleston, the champions, and they will get Duke in round 1. 7th seed in this region, Red Raiders of Texas Tech. There's another Big 12 team. What is that, 5 now? Big 12 was very, very deep this year, of course. Texas Tech's first game will be against the 10 seed Villanova. At-large bid out of the Big East fell to UConn in the Big East championship game. They get the 10 seed and will play Texas Tech. Number 2 seed and host of this sub-regional, LSU Tigers. LSU gets to host once again. Their opening game will be against the 15 seed Jacksonville, champions of the A-Sun. This is the first time in a long time that we have not had an A-Sun champion of Florida Gulf Coast. It's been FGCU for the last, it seems like, eternity. They had a little bit of a down year this year, and Jacksonville stepped in and took the A-Sun. So Jacksonville gets the auto bid and a date with LSU in round 1. So let me count the Big 12 teams right now. We've got, I think it's 5. Texas Tech, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Colorado. Yeah, 5. That's what I was thinking. Already 5 Big 12 teams, and we're only halfway through the bracket. That's how deep that conference was this year, the Big 12. They're actually on comparing resumes of South Carolina and Texas, I'm sure, for that number 1 seed. Texas beat South Carolina in the SEC title game. So whether you're a 1, whether you're a 2, I don't know that that's really going to matter that much, to be perfectly honest. You're hosting the first 2 rounds either way, and then you get fed into either Sacramento or Fort Worth. I don't know there's going to be really that much of a difference between a 1 or a 2 seed. Just for bragging rights, I guess. But they are announcing the 3rd region right now as we speak. So going to take a little bit of a halt there. And let's go back to the 2nd region, UCLA. UCLA got a little bit of a gift here, as UCLA will not have to, if they make it through to they will not have to leave the state of California until they get to the Final Four. They would host the first 2 rounds at Pauley and then go, yes, it's on the other side of the state, but up in Sacramento for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 rounds. So nonetheless, UCLA will not have to leave the state of California until the Final Four if they do indeed come out of this region. You got the LSU, Duke, and Minnesota as the top 4 seeds there. Only UCLA, I could see having a problem with LSU, but outside, I don't. That's about the only. If it does end up UCLA and LSU in that Elite 8 game, that LSU team could pose some problems for UCLA. That Oklahoma State-Princeton first-round game, that's an interesting matchup, too. Look at the rest here. They are announcing that 3rd region right now, so as soon as they are done with Region 3, we will go through it here. Again, I do apologize. I cannot show the live show, copyright restrictions and everything like that. So we just have to kind of go through it this way. Not what I had planned, but I'm still in my first year of the live stream, and I don't need to be getting a copyright buzz this early while I'm still trying to get it going here, so I'm not willing to take that chance. This region they're doing now is on the same as on the back on the other side with UConn feeds into Fort Worth here. I think. If it ends up, if UConn and UCLA would both come out of these regions and get past their Final Four game, boy, that's a national championship matchup. That would be worth watching. UConn and UCLA; those two teams are absolutely phenomenal basketball teams. Obviously, UConn at 34-0, trying to go back to back. UCLA only lost one game all season. They whizzed right through the Big Ten schedule, going undefeated in Big Ten play this year, and won the Big Ten championship game over Iowa by 51 points. I mean, that is how dominant UCLA was in the Big Ten this year. And that was a very good Iowa team. They just absolutely dismantled in the Big Ten championship game. Just have 3 teams left to announce in this next region, and then the bracket should be filled out, and we will go through this third region here. We should have our first 4 matchup with the 16 seeds when this region gets announced. Hey, Mephisto, back in there. Go USA. Yes. World Baseball Classic, that is underway, is it not? One of my buddies in the live chat, get in at the World Baseball Classic. That game is underway between the United States and the Dominican Republic, semifinal game. So Region 3 has just concluded their announcements, so we should be getting the bracket filled in on the matchups here momentarily. Yeah, here we go. And I meant correct. It's on the same side as the Region 2 with UCLA. Texas Longhorns, SEC tournament champions, get the number 1 seed. So they will host in Austin. They will take on, as I said, it's going to be our first play-in, or our first 4 game. 16 seed Missouri State Lady Bears, champions of Conference USA, their first year in Conference USA. And as the 6th seed in the tournament, they win the Conference USA tournament. They will take on Stephen F. Austin in that first 4 matchup, with that winner to take on Texas in round 1. 8-9 matchup on this region. The 8th seed Oregon Ducks out of the Big Ten. Oregon does get the at-large bid. They got 2 wins in the conference tournament. That helped matters as they're in as the 8th seed, so really not even on the bubble as an 8th seed, safely in the field. They will take on the 9th seed in this region, Hokies of Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech does get the at-large bid out of the ACC. That's a pretty compelling first-round matchup, Virginia Tech and Oregon. If you win that, though, you got to face more than likely Texas in round 2. 5 seed in this region, Kentucky Wildcats, just missing out on a hosting opportunity. They are the 5 seed, so they will have to go on the road. Their first matchup will be against 12 seed Dukes of James Madison. James Madison, champions of the Sun Belt, getting the 12th seed. And a matchup with Kentucky in round number 1. The host of this sub-region as the 4 seed, Mountaineers of West Virginia. There's another Big 12 team making the field. That's 6 now out of the Big 12. as West Virginia. Their first round game will be against the 13 seed Redhawks of Miami of Ohio, Mid-American Conference Tournament champions. They get themselves a 13 seed and a date with West Virginia in round 1 in Morgantown. 6 seed in this region, Crimson Tide of Alabama getting in as an at-large team out of the SEC. They will be taking on 11 seed Rams of Rhode Island, champions of the A10 regular season and tournament. Rhode Island, pretty good seed, an 11 seed, and a date with Alabama in round 1. The host of this sub-region as the 3 seed, Louisville Cardinals. Louisville falling to Duke in the ACC title game. They get themselves a 3 seed and a hosting spot in the first 2 rounds. Their first opponent will be the 14 seed Catamounts of Vermont, America East regular season and tournament champions. 14 seed for Vermont and a first round date with the Louisville Cardinals. Final 4 teams in this region, 7 seed Wolfpack of NC State, another at-large out of the ACC. NC State, a little bit of a lower year for them that we've been accustomed to seeing, but still safely in the field as a number 7 seed. They will be taking on, in their first game, 10 seed Volunteers of Tennessee. Boy, it looks so strange to see a double digit in front of Tennessee, but they are in. Tennessee and NC State matchup in round 1. The 2 seed and the other host in the sub-regional part, Michigan Wolverines. Michigan's solid year out of the Big Ten. They will get to host in Ann Arbor. Their first game will be against 15 seed Holy Cross, who won the Patriot League earlier today. They get in as the 15 seed, but will have to go to Ann Arbor to take on Michigan in that first round game. So you look here, Texas the 1, as we look at the top 4 seeds, Texas the 1, Michigan the 2, Louisville the 3, and West Virginia the 4. That is not an easy road for Texas to get to the Final Four. If it does end up holding and it's Texas-Michigan in that Elite Eight matchup, that matchup would be a fun one. So Texas does not exactly get that easy of a draw to try to get to the Final Four. Now, the thing with Texas is, if they do end up winning their first 2 games, they won't have to go far. They just have to travel to Fort Worth. So they do, and that'll be a very pro-Texas crowd there in Fort Worth if they can indeed advance past the second round and into the Sweet 16 and possible Elite Eight. So they do get the favorable draw in the Fort Worth region. Just like UCLA will not have to leave the entire state of California until the Final Four. Same can be said for Texas. They will not have to leave the entire state of Texas until the Final Four. So the committee doing them as many favors as they can. Now the 4th number 1 seed, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that part. They just announced it. It is South Carolina that gets that final number 1 seed in the Region 4. But South Carolina, they do get the number 1 seed, but if they do get past the first 2 rounds, they're going to have to go clear across the country to Sacramento for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 rounds. So South Carolina getting, yes, they got the number 1 seed, but you're going to have to make a cross-country trip if you get past the first 2 rounds. They are announcing the final region now. So again, I have to wait till they announce it on the TV before it gets posted on here, and then we can talk about it. But if you want to try on the live chat, do you see anything in these first three regions? Do you see anything that tells you that any of the number one seeds may not make the Final Four? I don't see it myself, but UCLA and Texas simply because they don't have to leave those states. That's why I give them the big advantage to get to the Final Four, which again will be in Phoenix. South Carolina, as I said, is the fourth number one seed. They will be hosting the first and second rounds, and they're going to get a winner of the first four game because we've only had one first four matchup with the 16 seeds. So we'll have our second one here as soon as they're done announcing this bracket, which they are on the final 8 teams here. Final Four, April the 3rd with the championship game, Sunday, April 5th. That is 3 weeks from today. They're down to the final 4 teams to announce here. Kind of jumping around on the ESPN selection show. I know they do that because of the hosts, the top 4 seeds hosting. So I know that's why they kind of jump around in the bracket there. Down to the final 2 teams. Then we will be able to go through this final region here. And then we will have our 68 team field for the NCAA Women's Tournament, which will get underway with the first 4 on Wednesday, I believe. Okay, they have just announced the final team, so just about to get filled in here. So the final number 1 seed, as I mentioned, the Gamecocks of South Carolina. So 2 SEC teams, number 1 seeds. South Carolina and Texas both get those number 1 seeds. And there is South Carolina getting filled in as the 1 seed. And they will get a first 4 winner. They will take on the winner of the first 4 game between Southern, the SWAC champions, and Samford, champions of the SoCon. Winner of that game to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks in the first round. 8-9 matchup in this region. The 8th seed, Clemson Tigers out of the ACC. Good year for Clemson. It's been a while since they've made the NCAA tournament, but they are back in it this year as the number 8 seed. They will take on the 9 seed Trojans of USC, getting the at-large bid out of the Big Ten. That's an interesting first-round matchup there, Clemson and USC. Winner of that game more than likely will play South Carolina in the second round. The number 5 seed in this region, Spartans of Michigan State, another at-large bid out of the Big Ten. Michigan State in their first matchup will take on the Rams of Colorado State. There'll be a lot of green in that game. Michigan State and Colorado State in that first round matchup. The host in this sub-region and the 4 seed Oklahoma Sooners out of the SEC. Oklahoma getting the at-large bid and hosting duties. They will take on the Vandals of Idaho in their first game. Idaho, champions of the Big Sky Conference, regular season and tournament champions in the Big Sky. Number 6 seed, Huskies of Washington. Another at-large bid out of the Big Ten. For the Huskies, they will take on the 11 seed Jackrabbits of South Dakota State, champions once again of the Summit League. That's becoming a trend, just like Green Bay of the Horizon League. Jackrabbits of South Dakota State getting the 11th seed. Host of this sub-region and the 3 seed Horned Frogs of TCU. TCU falling in the Big 12 title game. Still getting a 3 seed. They will take on the 14 seed UC San Diego. They had to play in the first 4 last year, but this year they get a 14 seed. And a date with TCU in the first round. UC San Diego, champions of the Big West for the second year in a row. Final 4 teams here. The 7 seed. If I can get it to scroll down. Georgia Bulldogs. Another at-large out of the SEC. Georgia will take on the 10 seed. That's the winner of the final first 4 matchup. Sun Devils of Arizona State getting the at-large bid out of the Big 12. And the other 10 seed, the Cavaliers of Virginia. So a Power 4 matchup there, Big 12 against ACC in that first 4 matchup, Arizona State and Virginia. Winner to play Georgia. And the 2 seed and host of this sub-regional, Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa losing in the Big Ten title game to UCLA. Iowa will take on the 15 seed Fairleigh Dickinson, who won the Northeast Conference title earlier today over LIU. They get a 15 seed and date with the Iowa Hawkeyes in the first round. So that is the final region. You've got South Carolina the 1, Iowa the 2, TCU the 3, and Oklahoma the 4. So neither one of those top 4 seeds in that region are going to have a short trip to Sacramento. So we're going to log some flyer miles, that's for sure, if those top 4 seeds end up getting through to the Sweet 16 round in Sacramento. So that is the bracket for the 68-team NCAA Women's Tournament. I've got to count how many Big 12, Big 10, and SEC teams there are. So what did I say, 5 from the Big 12 in the first 2 regions. So we've got so West Virginia, that's 6. TCU is 7. So we've got 7 teams out of the Big 12 that have made the tournament. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of the Big 10 in the field. So that's So we got 10 from the Big 10, 7 from the Big 12, and the SEC has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 from the SEC. So we've got 10 Big 10 teams, 10 SEC teams, and 7 Big 12 teams represented in this year's women's tour. Actually, wait a minute. Take that back. I forgot the first 4 rounds. So actually 11 Big 10 teams, 8 Big 12 teams. So 11 from the Big 10, 10 from the SEC, and 8 out of the Big 12. So that's 29 teams represented in just those 3 conferences. So that tells you how strong the Big 12, the SEC, and the Big 10 are in women's basketball, where you can get just 5 teams shy of half the field just in those 3 conferences alone. So a very, very deep conferences, those 3, the Big 10, the SEC, and the Big 12 in women's basketball. So looking through, do we see any of the number 1 seeds tripping up before the Final Four? I don't see anybody that's going to give UConn any problems. That, again, if it ends up LSU and UCLA, that could be a problem game for UCLA. Texas, I really don't see anybody there that can give them a run. South Carolina, South Carolina, I think, has the least favorable draw of the 4 number 1 seeds. Number 1, you have to make the cross-country trip, but so do the other 4 top seeds in that region. If you have to face, you're looking at a Sweet 16 matchup against Oklahoma, a conference team. Oklahoma nearly beat them in the regular season, if I'm not mistaken. So that could be interesting. And then if you face either TCU or Iowa, I think South Carolina has the toughest draw of the 4 number 1 seeds. If they want to try and get back to the Final Four and the national championship game, they're going to have the toughest road, I think, of the 4 number 1 seeds. So that is a look at it, the 68-team field in the NCAA Women's Tournament. It all gets underway on Wednesday with the first 4. The main draw of the tournament will begin on Friday. And the question is, can the UConn women go 40-0? Because that's what it would be if they end up going through the tournament. Be 40-0 for UConn. They've had a few undefeated seasons, but I don't think they've ever had a 40-win undefeated regular season. That's what it would be if UConn can run the table, and win the national championship. You'd be looking at a 40-0 UConn Husky team. Again, UConn, UCLA, Texas, South Carolina, the 4 number 1 seeds on the women's side in the NCAA. Well, game times will be coming out as the evening goes on. Those are not set yet. This is just the matchups. Game time should all be out by possibly the end of the evening tonight. If not, they'll for sure be out tomorrow. Fort Worth, Sacramento, the two regional sites for the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. Final Four will be held in Phoenix for the women's Final Four this year. That's actually right. I never even thought about that until they just showed it. This is the third time that all the number one seeds were the Final Four teams the previous season. So it's going to be interesting as the NCAA Women's Tournament gets underway on Wednesday with the first four. Well, that's going to wrap it up here on this select. We brought you the pairings. I am going to be back here in about 35 minutes for the men's NIT selections. That's coming up here about 35 minutes from now. I will be back on when the men's NIT chooses their 32-team field. We've got some auto bids in there, but we'll have the full 32-team NIT field coming out here in about 30 minutes, so I will jump on once that is revealed. Throw up the baseball game. I don't like Menfisto. I would, but I don't like starting something after it's already started. Well, yeah, I don't. I like to do something in its entirety. What is that score here anyway? 1-0 Dominican Republic in the bottom of the third in that World Baseball Classic. Second semifinal in the World Baseball Classic tomorrow, Venezuela and Italy, with the championship game coming up on Tuesday. Menfisto in the live chat, I'll make a deal. If whatever happens here, Tuesday, it's first day of the NCAA tournament. I can't. We'll see what happens. Menfisto will make a deal with you. Even though the USA isn't playing, I will try to get on for that game tomorrow. That's going to be work schedule permitting too. Venezuela and Italy in the second semifinal. I'll try to get on for that one tomorrow. Tuesday is the first day of college basketball postseason tournaments. God, that's a bad day to put the championship game on. If my schedule permits, I'll try to get on for that game tomorrow. And then we'll take it then we'll see how that goes. So I will make that guarantee for you. If work schedule, everything goes well, I'll try and get on tomorrow. That's up for that second semifinal in the World Baseball Classic. Again, be back with you here in about 30 minutes for the selection of the NIT selection, or the NIT field, the 32-team NIT field. We'll be back on with you here in about 30 minutes for that and talk to you.